Put your tray table up and your seats in the upright position, ladies and gentlemen, because we have Manifest, the love child of Lost and This Is Us, which promises its fair share of emotion and mystery. But while Lost left some viewers disgruntled and searching for answers, Manifest creator Jeff Rake has promised there is a mystery endgame here. Join me in this new series as we aim to tackle the mysteries behind Flight 828. On April 7, 2013, Flight 828 from Montego Bay to New York experiences a sudden weather surge, which causes major turbulence and panic. But it's short-lived and the flight continues as normal. When the plane lands, however, we learn it's no longer 2013, rather November 4th, 2018. On board are brother and sister Michaela and Ben Stone, as well as Ben's son Cal. They reunite with their family, who believed them dead for 5.5 years. Michaela begins to hear a strange voice in her head. First, she saves a kid from being hit by a bus, then she finds 2 kidnapped girls in a metal container. But she soon finds out it's not just her hearing the voice, but also her brother and everyone else on the flight. And that's when the plane explodes. So what's going on? What happened with the plane? And more importantly, what is happening to the passengers? First, let's go over theories on what happened to the plane and how it could possibly shown up 5 years later. Number 1, the Bermuda Triangle. One of the great mysteries of the ocean, the Bermuda Triangle, or the Devil's Triangle, is known for taking thousands of lives without a trace. Some believe it to be the cause of paranormal activity, the origin of Atlantis, or even aliens. Take a look at a map of the flight from Montego Bay to New York. You'll notice the plane flies directly over, you guessed it, the Bermuda Triangle. The writers could have chosen a flight from anywhere in the world, but they purposely selected Montego Bay, Jamaica to New York. Theory number 2, an act of God. Religion plays a big part in the first episode. We have the Bible quote from the book of Romans found on the pillow, which is the same as the address in the junkyard, and coincidentally is the same number as the flight. It's an act of God, the storm surge which wasn't picked up by radar, that was the catalyst for the show, and potentially an act of God which made the plane explode at the end with all the passengers watching. Did something not want the government prodding it for clues? Or did it want to send some sort of message? Theory 3, a wormhole. A wormhole is a theoretical passage through space-time that could create shortcuts for long journeys across the universe. In this case, it would have created a rift, bending time and sending the passengers 5 years into the future. But if this were the case, what or who caused it is still unknown. Honestly, this isn't my personal theory, but it should at least be mentioned. Which brings me to my next question. What are the voices? Shortly after being released by the FBI, Michaela begins to hear a voice. Her voice, but somehow also not. It starts while embracing her sister-in-law, Grace, when she hears all things, then slow down on the bus, and finally set them free with the dogs. Of course, them is not referring to the dogs, rather the 2 girls trapped in this dude's storage container. It seems as though whatever happened on that flight gave the passengers the power to predict danger, or is it something trying to guide them? As I stated earlier, there's a heavy religious presence in the show. Right off the bat, Michaela's mom mentions her favorite Bible verse, all things work together for good. More precisely, and we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to His purpose. This passage shows up multiple times in the episode and is taken from, you guessed it, Romans 8:8. Something was calling Michaela to the workshop, and then again for all the passengers to the plane. Take a look at the verse one more time. And we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to His purpose. It's when Michaela asks, how do we know if we're called, that she gets the trigger calling her to the plane. When this character, a man we'll come to know as Rad, plays the violin and is called, he's playing a song called Meditation from the opera Thais. In the scene in which this song is played, 2 characters confront Thais, a beautiful and hedonistic courtesan of Venus, and attempt to persuade her to leave her life of luxury and find salvation through God. The metaphor of finding salvation through God being a possible connection to the show, and especially the verse from Romans. What if everyone is dead and in purgatory? That's right, the classic Lost theory. Everyone died and is now being tested by God or a higher power. The test revolving around the voices they hear and likely will hear in future episodes. Or, more likely, they are alive but something is trying them. But why do these people need to be tested? At the beginning of the episode, Michaela says, "Funny how one little decision could ruin your life." but also save it, implying by the end of the story she receives redemption. Later we learn that she's convinced she murdered Evie in her car despite a judge deeming her innocent. Is this what Michaela needs redemption from? And where does that leave Ben? What's in his closet? Is it about how he made his sick son so desperate for his attention? Or will his test involve the partner Grace has kept hidden from him during his 5-year absence? And what will happen once everyone realizes they're all hearing voices? Let me leave you with one more point. Mrs. Stone's favorite passage. All things work together for good. Maybe the passengers' only hope of finding out what happened and potentially getting back to their timeline relies on them working together. Those are just some of the mysteries beginning to unfold in this series. If you want me to continue exploring Manifest, make sure to like and subscribe, and I love hearing your theories in the comments section. Stay tuned.